Will Trump and the Republicans concede a 2024 loss? Lots of folks are discussing the possibility of a Trump win. But does anyone believe that Trump will concede a loss? Meanwhile, these Republican statehouses have had 4 years to plan how to overturn their elections. So what will actually happen in case of a Biden win in 2024? X200B. He will not concede. When he didn't get an Emmy, he claimed it was rigged. When he didn't get a cover of Time magazine, he claimed it was rigged. When he lost Iowa in the primaries, he claimed it was rigged. He claimed the 2016 election was rigged before it even happened. Claiming the 2020 election was rigged is always a foregone conclusion, and it was the most dangerous moment in modern times because he was the president. He will absolutely claim the 2024 election is rigged. Trump wouldn't concede a loss to his son in Uno. There's a 0% chance he concedes. The real question is how many Republicans will admit he lost, or are they going to continue to avoid directly answering the question? They are going to try to prevent a certification. Don't be surprised if there are attempts to prevent the election from taking place in some states, or attempts to prevent votes from being counted. There are going to be alternative electors and votes against certification in Congress. If they lose, they may try to prevent the 2028 election from taking place at all. Trump will never concede, even if he has 2 of the vote. While sitting in prison and running third party, he will claim that he actually won. Fortunately, however, Donald isn't the incumbent. So if he doesn't concede, the executive branch, which includes law enforcement, the 3-letter agencies, and the Pentagon, will still be in Democratic hands. I worked the polls yesterday and had a woman tell me she's so tired of the way Mr. Trump is being persecuted. Persecuted, not prosecuted. I will say the answer to your question is no. They haven't conceded their 2020 loss yet. Of course they won't concede, and we will hear lots of election fraud claims before the election even takes place. This is their new modus operandi. The reason folks will have a hard time answering this is because the mods demand a long-form answer. And the answer to this question is simple. No, they will not concede. Reaganomics obliterated the white working class and opened the gates on cheap foreign labor. Milking those dynamics for votes worked for about 25 years, but now the chickens have come to roost. Not to mention Gen Z and late millennials who are tired of Wall Street ball washing and active shooter drills. Demographics have overtaken the GOP at the ballot box. Democracy has outlived its purpose to them, and now it must go. So, no, they won't concede. No. There's no way Trump ever concedes to Biden. He's just gonna rail about the election being stolen and continue to grift his followers. No, a campaign based on grievance fantasies that the 2020 election was stolen will not concede when they lose in 2024. To concede would be to admit that they have been lying to their own supporters the entire time. In some cases presuming that at least some trials are still ongoing come election time. Admitting that our elections are secure might even reveal that certain defendants are committing perjury in those trials. Other Republicans, those not running for office, up for re-election or under indictment in 2024, may well concede to reality. But the top candidates will not, and the RNC will not. At least for several years. No, they are already claiming fraud in the 2023 elections. The only elections that are not fraudulent are the ones where they win. If they lose, fraud. If they win, fair. It will be like this for at least the next 5 years. They didn't in 2020. To an extent, they didn't even accept their win in 2016. Even though Trump won, They still tried to craft a narrative that the Dems cheated. They still may win in 2024. But they just don't accept the reality of a win or a loss. There will always be someone or something to blame. This was a good question to ask in 2020. People who said no, people who even asked the question, were often pilloried. We know the answer now. He disputed the results of the 2016 election, and he was the winner of that one. No, they won't concede. But it won't matter. The Republicans' SC judges aren't die-hard Trump loyalists. They refused to help him overturn the election in 2020 except for Thomas and Scalise who wanted to hear the case. So anything they try to do to ratfuck the election will be shut down by the SC. Almost certainly not. And there would be a lot of protests and punditry from the right backing him. What happens next really depends on how the House goes. If Dems win back the House, then Biden would be re-inaugurated with a minimum of procedural drama. But if the reps keep the House, then there's a very real chance that they'll try some shenanigans. During certification, the composition of the Republicans in the House has moved sharply in favor of the election deniers. And the current speaker helped lead the charge on attempting to overturn 2020. The Christo-fascists of America Republicans hate America and everything it stands for. So I expect they will do everything in their power to dismantle it all. No. He's show who he is time and time again. Why are people still asking this question? He's not changing. It doesn't matter if they concede, as we saw in 2020. They may pull something like January 6th again. Seems like a silly question. Were you not paying attention for the last 3 years? Trump lost by 7 million votes. The election wasn't even close unless you have insane electoral college rules. He will never concede, no matter by how much he loses. He's created a persona as a winner. Anything that goes against that has to be a lie. Trump will never concede. Problem is Trump or not. The precedent has been set and there are going to be a sizable number of GOP voters who demand that they not concede. If Trump died, his team would probably prop up an animatronic of his corpse and claim it is still alive in order to continue the grift. Look at Herman Cain's Twitter for the blueprint. No, I don't expect they would concede. Their goal is the end of democracy. They would just push Project 2025 to Project 2029 and continue to reschedule it until either they complete their goal or a reasonable Republican candidate is nominated and puts an end to the very idea of shattering the system. Of course not. Everyone knows that. He admits that. The real questions are what he will urge his followers to do and how do others respond. Will democracy survive? Absolutely, violence and physical attacks if they lose again. But on a much wider stage and more coordinated. Were there any consequences for 2020? Was the behavior rewarded? If there is no reason not to accept personal honor, the health of the nation, the answer is gonna be fuck you America. I wish Gore fought as hard as Trump in 2020. Worst case scenario, Republicans would have closed the door tighter to contesting elections. Nope. Trump didn't concede in 2020 despite losing by a fair margin with zero evidence to the contrary. The evidence most other Republicans gave was Trump's word. Probably not. I say this because I don't think people understand what criminal position the whole party is. I'd be shocked if Jack Smith leaves our Congress alone. Literally co-conspirators. Most of the Republicans. These criminals know their time is up. Power can save them. They want it at any cost, they have shown. Will Trump and the Republicans concede a 2024 loss? There's no good evidence implying they will. Many Republicans contest or split hairs over Trump's 2020 loss despite unequivocal evidence that the election was fair. secure and legitimate through and through.